Let's assume that Vic Mignogna found the dumbest law firm in the state of Texas. Okay, let's assume that. First of all, I think even the dumbest law firm in Texas could win this case, but let's assume that they lose. You're still going to pay me 40 to 100 grand to win.
Right.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It is a beautiful Saturday morning. Streaming a bit early today because of the recent news of what just happened down in Dallas yesterday. Holy shit, was that a meltdown. Like, one of the most incompetent things that I've ever seen anything doing this entire case. Just, complete flabbergasted. Like, for example, me and my streams, I often flub, I often make mistakes, I often get flustered, etc. You know it, I know it. A lot of streamers do this. Jim does it. Nick does it from time to time. Everyone does that. But to go to court for a case that you had nearly 200 days to prepare for, and you have absolutely nothing, like zero, zilch, nada, and you completely fail at absolutely everything at every single point. I don't know how you do that. Like, this was bad. But this is even worse. I knew it was going to be bad. I told you guys it was going to fail. I told you that this was not going to work out. I told you that Nick didn't have a case. I told you it was a scam and a con, etc. I still stand by all that. But you know what I didn't expect? I didn't expect this to go ahead and just disintegrate this quickly. Like, I expected there to be more of a fight. I expected there to be something, but... Okay, so I should probably just start recapping what happened at this point, for those who are unaware. Essentially, over the past weekend, Ty Beard filed his paperwork. He filed very late. He went ahead and submitted all his affidavits and stuff like that. His response to the motions to dismiss, which the defendants had put against Ty Beard, who had been on this case defending the voice actor Vic Mignogna after Nick Rekieta fundraised all this money, convinced everyone that, yeah, Vic can totally sue these guys. He can totally just stand up there in the court and just tell them that everything they're saying about him, all the allegations of harassment and sexual abuse, just say they're all lies, and the judge and the court will have no other choice but to give him lots and lots of money. Yeah, that sort of bullshit? Yeah, no. Let's let the reality sink in. And boy, has it sunk in for a lot of people. Alright, so just want to show you an article real quick about this that recaps things nicely. It's from the Dallas newspaper. I've shown this from here before. Of course, there's going to be a very liberal bias, as you can tell by the title. Let me put that up. In anime's Me Too movement, Vic Mignogna is a no-show at Tarrant County hearing, and his case is mostly an unholy mess. State District Judge John Chupp dismissed a number of the claims by Mignogna's attorney and promised to rule on the remainder in the next 30 days. State District Judge John Chupp must come from a family of firefighters because Friday he managed a hearing in his Tarrant County courtroom that was more dumpster blaze than legal proceedings. Ouch. That's not just the commentaries or hot takes. That's what the newspapers are saying. How embarrassing was it? Friday was a significant milestone in a civil lawsuit brought by a local anime actor, Vic Mignogna, against two of his Dallas area colleagues, the fiancé of one of the women, and a company that cut ties with him. Mignogna says their statements about his inappropriate behavior with women amount to an unfair campaign to destroy his career. His accusers say his lawsuit aims at silencing them. So right off the bat, I think this is a really big mistake here on the legal team, defense team. Mignogna's not showing up for these trials. Mignogna's not really showing a huge personal investment and stake and interest of this at all. Like, this guy is claiming that he was hurt by these statements, that he was financially ruined by them, and he's not even going to appear to these court proceedings where he's being represented by people who love and support him, because a whole bunch of his fans came and filled up the seats. His lawyers, his legal teams who are just putting their necks out there, I guess. I mean, I'll get to them in a second, but I'll expand more on them in a moment. But like, why won't Vic show up? This should be like an obvious thing. Just go there, show that like just go there, make your plea, make your case, and just you can even testify that no, I didn't do any of these things. And they can use yourself, and they can say, hey, that testimony should count. You're going to use their word, you should use mine as well. Like, this is just basic lawyering 101. And throughout this case, I've noticed that this isn't just a new thing. This isn't like this one hearing Vic didn't show up. What I'm noticing is that Vic just is absent from this. You read the deposition, you look at what he has to say. He hasn't said anything or much at all. He doesn't seem to be even in communication with Ty Beard at all. It just seems like this is a side fight that people are going through, and he's just going to go gallivant and just hope that things blow over. It's a really bizarre and weird situation. After 3 hours of arguments between a tightly scripted defense team and Mignana's astonishingly unorganized and at times ill-prepared and illogical attorney, Chupp dismissed a number of the claims and promised to rule on the remainder in the next 30 days. This case is the first big test of the Me Too movement in the multi-million-dollar anime industry. In this instance, Mignana is digging in and fighting back in court. Given the high-stakes issues in play, it's troubling that the case has turned into a circus. As one of the defense attorneys, Andrea Perez, told me earlier this summer, this case is something I wake up thinking about, and it's the last thing I think about when I go to sleep. I, too, being a woman and a woman lawyer, this hit me particularly hard because I have experiences too. I know there is too often silence, so to be able to support and help get a woman out there to talk about what they have been going through is so important to me. Mignana has been the voice of hundreds of roles in the world, and it just goes on. We already know about that. Okay, so a lot of this is clearly with the lens of the Me Too movement, and that kind of taints this article a little bit for me. I'm not really interested in the whole Me Too stuff, but in general, and also as I've said before, I don't agree with a lot of the positions of the Me Too movement. I don't think that like all the people that are speaking up are necessarily victims. I think a lot of them have had a lot of bad, regrettable experiences that they want to bring up as an allegation of some kind of systemic abuse or whatever. That's way too nebulous and broad. So there is some issues there. But the thing I want to really focus but the thing I really want to get into with this article is how badly the case was handled. All right. Skip the next few paragraphs. This just goes over some of the stuff. But January's record-breaking opening of Broly. This talks about the movie Vic Mignana was gone into. Let's just see here. Mignana's lawsuit, filed April 18th, alleged defamation, torturous interference, conspiracy, and other charges against Funimation. Voice actors Jamie Marchi and Monica Rial, and Rial's fiancé, Ron Toye. The lawsuit painted the company and the three individuals as a band of conspirators leading the charge to reduce Mignana to ruins. Friday, the 141st District Court gallery was packed and interested parties, and many of them were there to support Rial and Marchi. But Mignana was nowhere to be found. Perhaps that was for the best, given the often befuddled oral arguments of his Tyler-based attorney, Ty Beard. And many worldwide Mignana fans have contributed to the massive GoFundMe for his legal fees. A war chest which now stands at more than $242,000 might well have wanted their money back if they had been in that courtroom today. I'd like to tell you what Beard thought of his performance. I'd like to tell you what Beard thought of his performance. Ditto for being able to say with authority that the reason Mignana was not on hand. The defense team believes he had a professional appearance in California. But Beard refused to speak to me as he left the courtroom. Likewise, just as he refused to talk when I wrote previously about the case, he hadn't responded to my email earlier this week seeking comment. Ouch. That's brutal. Like, I don't think he learned his lesson last time I commented on this. When you don't comment to the reporter, they can just basically fill in whatever they want there. So giving no comment sometimes hurts you, more so than it helps. From the moment Chupp first called on Beard during Friday's hearing, the attorneys seemed totally unprepared. Dead air, while he fumbled for documents or answers, seemed to take up as much time as Beard's actual responses. I've sat in 24 or more civil and criminal courtrooms, and never have I seen anything like this. So basically it was a Donga stream. Damn. At the end of the proceedings, which went on an hour longer than the court had allocated, Chup dismissed all claims against Marchi, all except defamation against Funimation, and all except defamation and conspiracy against Rial and Toye. So that's a very interesting. So this is this brings up to a nice little point here. This one comes courtesy of Greg Doucette. There's a little chart I want you to see. Yeah, this is what Ty Beard's scorecard looks like right now. You got Jamie was cleared of all charges. You got she was accused of libel slander, torturous interference, another form of torturous interference, civil conspiracy, cleared on all counts. Monica cleared of torturous interference. Ron cleared of torturous interference, that is both counts. And Funi cleared of both counts of torturous interference, civil conspiracy, and vicarious liability. So, of the 17 charges here, only 5 remain alive. Only 5 of the claims, that is, I should not say charges, are still going to be around. That's all the judge has left to rule on, and he has his written ruling to make by October 7th of by the 7th of next month. And this is just an unmitigated disaster. Like, there's attempts to damage control this, heavily damage control this situation. They're trying to claim that, oh, Ty Beard didn't fuck up. Ty Beard didn't shit the bed. Ty Beard didn't screw the pooch. No, what happened was Ty Beard just mismanaged a few files and documents. He just had a boomer moment. He was just, he didn't file right. And the judge was unfair. The judge was biased. Okay, that's bullshit. That is complete and total bullshit. There's no way that Ty Beard did not fuck this up royally in every conceivable possible way. Like, the only thing that could have been worse is if he came to, I don't think there could have been a worse one. I honestly do not think it is possible for there to have been a worse defense than this, defense for all this. When you get down to it, the guy made all kinds of ridiculous arguments, the kinds of arguments that you typically hear on a Nick Rekieta stream. The guy probably would have been better if he just went a full-on, no, I'm not even going to say that. Because the comparison of a sovereign citizen to say is worse is not the case. Ty Beard essentially argued exactly like a sovereign citizen. I'll get a little bit more into that. I think the article does here. Let's go back to it a bit. Okay, going down a bit. Where was I? Those outstanding claims are weighty ones. Funimation, Rial, and Toye are still on a sharp hook. I suspect Chup needed to give more consideration and study to each before making his ruling. Or maybe the amateurish performance of the plaintiff's legal team had just worn on his last nerve to the point that the extremely patient judge needed a break. And you know what? That's very well possible. It's entirely possible that this coming Monday, the judge just says, you know what? I want this thing out of here as soon as possible. Here's my written statement. All the charges against the plaintiffs are dismissed. The end. That could be it. And based on what people have been saying about the judge, the witnesses who were there, the judge was having none of Ty Beard's nonsense. He asked Ty Beard for clear and specific evidence as required on the TCPA. He had nearly 200 days. I must stress this. He had 191 days to get all his ducks in a row and to have this put forward. And he failed. He wasn't able to do it. He completely failed at his goal. And as a result of this, he wasn't able to forward the case. I don't know why they think this, but, and I'll get more on that in a second, because there is a bit of damage control in Nick's part about this that I'm going to play. They seem to believe that Vic showing up and saying things is proof in of itself of the claims. So, in Nick's and Ty's world, to get past a motion to dismiss, you don't need evidence. You just need the word of the plaintiff. That's it. Do I need to elaborate on how retarded that is? Do I need to expand and elucidate why a plaintiff claiming things isn't going to hold weight in court on its own. Like, there needs to be more to it. You need more substance in that. And yet this is what they believe. And people bought this bullshit. Just let that sink in for a second. In contrast to the button-down, PowerPoint proficient defense lawyers, Beard was not ready for a stage like this. Too often, his response to Chupp about an exhibit or fact was, "At the time, I can't find it." At one point in Beard's arguments against Marshy, Chupp said, "I don't think you have any evidence and that's your problem." Beard later reacted with surprise when Chupp indicated he had dropped all of the claims against Marshy. "Wait, defamation was dismissed as well?" "Yes, I said that a long time ago," Chupp had to point out. Now, let's go back to that. Let's go back to that for a second. The reason why Marshy's case was thrown out, it wasn't because Marshy had an independent witness to verify her claims. It wasn't that Vic Mignogna admitted the claim was true. It wasn't in his own deposition. No, it was neither of those things. So, what was it that made Marshy's claims get thrown out? Ty didn't put down what the alleged defamatory statement was in his petitions. He made 3 petitions to the court. He made his first one when he filed the case back in April, I believe it was. He made his second one, he made an amended petition in July or August, I believe it was July. And then he made a third one right before the court. Now, the judge dismissed the third one because it was filed too late, according to him. But in none of them does it ever put down Jamie Marshy's publicly declared claim that Vic Mignogna pulled her hair. Now, like, think about that. That's like saying that I'm going to charge, like, that's like if you're on a murder case. You forget to write down how the person was murdered, or if the person was murdered at all. You just put down, oh, well, he was found dead in an alleyway. Was it a homicide? Well, I don't know. Like, how do you do that? How do you fuck up this badly? And then you wonder why your case and why your claims against the defendant were thrown out. And frankly, people are saying, "Oh, well, that's such the reason for Ty to appeal." No, honestly, Ty shouldn't get a second shot at this. He fucked up this bad. Vic should not get a second shot at this. Like, they fucked up this bad. When you fuck up that badly, and there's just no point in getting an appeal at all. In another chart exchange, a slightly exasperated Chupp said, "Am I not being clear?" Beards responded, "No, Your Honor, it's that I'm not listening," to which the judge said, "It would help if you would." Or rather, it would help if you would. Oh my gosh. Why is it that Beard... How does this happen? You're a lawyer who has years and years of experience, supposedly. I'm presuming this is true. I'm presuming that Ty Beard is an actual lawyer with actual credentials with years of experience in estate planning. You have an entire firm at your side. You have a war chest of over $200,000. I believe the amount, when you take out GoFundMe's like 10% cut, comes about to like $230,000 available to you. You have nearly half a year for the case. How do you end up being lectured by the judge to do basic shit like listen and pay attention while you're arguing a case in court? How embarrassing is that? The reporter goes on, "I've got a dozen more examples, but you probably get the picture. None of this means Chupp will rule against the plaintiff on the remaining claims. For instance, he was very interested in Beard's argument about implied defamation by Funimation, which was vague in its tweets related to Mignogna's termination at a time when vile accusations were flying around on social media." There's just no way that he's going to win on that, by the way. Like, the thing is, did Funimation imply that Vic Mignogna was a harasser? Yes. Yes, they did. Is it theoretically possible in civil Texas procedure to argue based on an implication as opposed to a direct statement? Yes, there is at least one court ruling which backs this up, that it is possible for that to happen. Here's the problem, though. Even if you get past those hurdles, the fact that there's technically no defamatory statement against, like, not defamatory, there's technically no statement against Mignogna in that statement, and even if you get past the second hurdle, that you can argue that an implication is enough to get someone in order to cause damages. Even if you get past those two, the issue then becomes, you can't show that they're lying, because when they said their investigation concluded that he was a harasser, there's not some special qualifier as to what harassment is. They don't have to, like, go before the court and, like, specifically define how that is. Like, that is true. Their internal investigation did find that Vic Mignogna harassed certain individuals, that they found unacceptable behavior. And a company can legally define what that is. So it comes down to, like, what are these guys doing? It's just a shit show. Let's continue down here. Chuck pointedly noted that several hundred individual tweets by Toye repeatedly used the label predator online in reference to Mignogna, and said more than 100 individuals have made more accusations of assault, that the allegations were corroborated, and that there were mounds of testimony. He also was keenly interested in emails provided by Beard and showed communications between Rial and Funimation about Mignogna after his termination. Earlier plaintiff filings had focused on Rial's lengthy February 19th tweet, which she alleged that Mignogna grabbed her in a hotel room and forcibly kissed her without her consent. Rial said that she decided to go public with her account to Mignogna's actions to put a face on to the voices. Mignogna, in his deposition, said that he could never recall an instance when she was even in his hotel room. Although her case is not over, Rial told me that she relieved by Friday's outcome, because after all mistruths that have spread, today was about the actual evidence that a judge can see, and we have a lot of it, and the other side has nothing. Oh boy, how ironic is that? This entire time, the I Stand With Vic crowd, Nick Rekieta, and all of them have been saying, none of these people have any evidence, they can't show anything, they can't prove any of their claims. Well, this is brought before a trial court. The defendants brought a lot of evidence, and the plaintiffs brought no evidence. How is this? How the fuck do you reach this conclusion? It's amazing. It's baffling to me. It's baffling that basic shit, like you need evidence to substantiate your claims in court, needs to be told to these people. Like they're, I don't even think that people going into law school would need to be told that you need fucking evidence in court. Like a person with a functioning brain would put two and two together and reach that conclusion. It's just, it's absolutely amazing to me. Although her case is not over, Rial told me she was relieved by Friday's outcome, because after all mistruths have spread, today, okay, we read that. Marchi is off the hook, but still dead set on making sure that people hear the truth. The two women were steadfast that this case, despite the blame and harassment that have come with it, will make a difference. As we part in the fourth courtroom, Rial smiled through her tears. I don't believe that's kind of bullshit. We want other women to see what we got through. We want other women to see we got through it. We are getting through it, and it will be okay for them too. This should tell everyone listening, by the way, anyone reading this article, anyone seeing this, that this case as an affront to the Me Too movement has been a failure. It has only rebuffed and reinforced Me Too. If your goal here was to stop women who make questionable claims and statements, things that are not necessarily proven fact, from being the say-all, end-all, be-all when it comes to these controversies, like you don't like to believe the women's narrative, which a lot of times, yeah, there are a lot of cases where women do lie about this kind of shit. So there is reason for pushback against it. It failed. It backfired. And this article just demonstrates and proves it. We're left, like... And no, this is not, like, the only person... This is not just some biased reporter saying this. People who are partial to the case have commented that this case is, like, as bad as it says, as it is. Like, for example, we got this person here. This is an I Stand With Vic supporter, just confirming what the article says. First argument was Vic's public figure status would affect what plaintiff needs to show, and he appeared to have several slides prepared. The judge cut him off abruptly and said, I agree he's a public figure. Look at all the people that showed up. Normally it's lonely here. That is such a bitch slap of epic proportions there. Ty was going to argue that Vic wasn't a public figure, or he was going to try to make that case a little bit. Or he was going to attempt, or there was an attempt at that. There was speculation that he might go that direction. Yeah, like, and look, people are laughing at Ty. And it's like, pretty much all the observers laughed at this, and Chubb seemed generally laid back at this point. I don't get it. I don't get how you could go this way. Literally being laughed out of court. Like just straight up, people in the crowd laughed. It's like a bad comedy at this point. Yeah. Okay, so what's been so far the reaction to all this has been like people in the I Stand With Vic side have been in denial. They've been questioning Ty Beard. They've been saying that they've been doing all this different stuff. But it's like none of that shit matters, really. Like when you get down to it, these people were tricked. Like they really were. Like if this lawsuit doesn't show any this lawsuit shows that Ty Beard is an incompetent buffoon, that he has never litigated a case like this before. He does not have the experience. He is not qualified to defend someone in a defamation suit or tortious interference suit or most torts, as far as I'm concerned. He may not be qualified to litigate at all. I have not seen a shred of evidence to suggest that Ty has ever once litigated his life. Like at most, maybe he's litigated a few times during his career, but not all lawyers are litigators. Some, like estate planners, don't litigate. They primarily stay in the back rooms dealing with business and making sure contracts are followed for mortgages or whatever. This is not Ty's expertise, yet Ty took this on. Nick selected him and recommended to Vic Mignogna from the very beginning. This is the lawyer that he wanted. In fact, it even says in the GoFundMe. Look, let me show you this. It says right here in the GoFundMe. Wrong one. Give me a second. Try that again. Let's find the line. I am not representing Vic in a legal capacity, but I am aware of the team who is and will coordinate this fund to pay for Vic's legal fees. Yeah, but give me a second. All right, sorry about that. Let me just get something here that's not what I wanted. But anyway, okay, so I made a mistake there, but I thought he said that he had picked it out at that point. But no, Nick has mentioned that he picked Ty out himself. That this wasn't Vic Mignogna's decision, this was Nick's decision. Nick recommended Ty to Vic Mignogna and said this guy could represent you. He would be a good litigator for the case. And he backed him up every step of the way, all throughout the case, and was, and even had Ty on his show over and over again, co-hosting, and was proud to have him there. and was bragging and boasting about him left and right, and everyone just bought into it and believed it. And this guy, and it's just so dumb. It is so dumb. Okay. So there's another thing I want to show here. Just bear with me for 1 second. Let me go get it. All right, so what's the spin? What are people going to be saying here? Because in situations like these, when you have people who are doing shady shit or have a stake in the game and they fuck up badly, there's often enough times that people will come out with damage control. And the sooner this is addressed and adhered to, the better, because you can easily catch them because they need time to formulate their spin, their bullshit, their narratives, their exaggerations, their fudging of the truth, the lies, etc. They need to have that. If they don't get that down, it's not going to work. And the earlier that it's caught, the sooner it can be pointed out that it's bullshit. So we're going to go ahead and take a look at this interview that Nick gave on the Gamer Gator stream. Isn't that an interesting little connection? Let's take a listen to that.
Now real quick. Hey Nick, you're on the air. What's going on?
Oh
boy.
Hey, what's up, guys?
hi.
Who am I on with?
It's Gator Flamenco and Her Excellency, who is actually there taking down notes, talking about the case. We've just kind of been going over the kind of the initial stuff of the case, like the details and stuff like that. But how's it going, Nick? I know that you don't have a whole lot of time.
No, I'm about to hop on a plane back to Minnesota. It's things are going fine for me. I don't know how they're.
Oh, I'm sure they're going real swell for you, Nick. I'm really sure it is.
I don't know how they're going for everyone else. I have a ton of thoughts on the hearing, how it went. One thing I want to caution people is, and this is advice I was just giving some other people, is it's really easy to make a lot of rash judgments about how the case went today. And people are going to do that. That's fine. But how this case shapes up over the next month is really going to tell the tale.
Now, I want you to pay attention to Nick's tone of voice. You can hear the nervousness there. You can hear he's not his usual confident self. He's getting all nervous and he's saying some dumb shit like, "Oh well, don't make any rash judgments. Nobody jump to any conclusions or anything. Everything's fine. Actually, I'll show you exactly. What you're hearing there."
Oh, all this talk of a dumpster fire, it's just fake news.
Pretty much that. All right, let's go back to this.
I want to point out a couple things while I have time, and that is that there were a lot of the actions dismissed completely out of hand today. By the judge said, nope, these are done, and they're gone. And those are not final because you have motions to reconsider, you have appeals, but for the meanwhile, they're out of there. The interesting thing to me is that by far the most valuable claims in terms of damages are the defamation claims against Funimation, Monica Rial, and Ron Toye. Funimation specifically because they have the most money. Rial.
Okay, so a couple things there. Nick's making the case that the judge was improper in dismissing the cases, that he made the wrong call, and he's not saying that directly, but he's heavily implying that. And he'll expand more on that as this goes on. He's also saying that, oh, well, don't worry, guys. We still got a few claims that are left that we can still hang them on. Totally is going to happen, guys. Just stick to the plan, stay the course. And he needs to tell people that because he needs to have people trust in his credibility. He needs, quote unquote, credibility, I should say. He doesn't have any credibility. He needs people to believe the lie. Believe the lie that he's a competent law explainer / attorney that is the sharpest knife in the drawer and knows smarter than any lawyer that has ever lived in the history of ever. Like 80 lawyers come forward and say, hey, this case is bullshit. It's not going to go anywhere. Oh, no. Nick, the guy who's making money off of the success of this case. And to clarify that, the guy who is actively making money, promoting the case, getting everyone hyped for it, rooting for the plaintiff, and telling everyone, yeah, this is going to be a surefire win. This guy has no emotional investment in this. This guy has no financial investment in this. This guy is the most objective pontificator that's ever lived, and you should just believe him. Just because he's a lawyer. He's got a degree. Oh, let's never mind that none of the things he's talking about. Let's never mind that he gets corrected over and over again. Let's never mind that on a daily basis he gets beaten in arguments by these lawyers that he's saying are incompetent and don't know any better. No, just ignore all that. Just ignore that when people challenge him to debates, Nick goes, no, you're a nobody. I'm not going to debate you. You don't have a law degree. Never mind the guy has no experience with Texas law whatsoever. And he's never been known to ever have taken up a defamation case, ever. But, let's keep on listening to the interview. I'm thinking a little too hard on that.
On Toye because of the volume and impact of their statements. All of the other stuff being dismissed, of course, is not ideal. However, the judge decided not to dismiss those things which are most valuable when he absolutely could have, if he wanted to. So that tells me that he at least sees the issues here, and he's now going to determine if he wants to go forward with it. In my brain, that means he should definitely go forward with those claims if he sees enough merit at this point, because that's how TCPA works. But the judge didn't seem to understand the actual legal standards required for TCPA.
Okay, I want you guys who are listening to pay close attention to this, because this is an example of where Nick gets something wrong about black letter law. That is the law as it is written.
And was just ignoring the fact that those were brought up over and over. So who knows? Who knows how it will ultimately go? But the judge was doing some very weird things in court today. And the most shocking thing to me was when he dismissed the tortious interference claim. That blew my mind, because they have an affidavit that has them dead to rights on doing tortious interference and the text messages from Toye. And the judge basically said, yeah, so. And it's like, wait.
Okay, so this is not the important thing, but real quick, just as an aside, because he's bringing up how flabbergasted and shocked and amazed he was that tortious interference claims were thrown out. I've said this in I think I said in a debate I had, the first debate I had with I forget his name. I had a guest on my show for a debate, and it lasted about 3 hours. I believe I brought this point up that tortious interference isn't just interfering in some nebulous way with the contract. It's not telling someone, hey, you shouldn't have this guy at your convention, or you shouldn't deal with this person, or hey, maybe this business deal you're getting into isn't a good idea. If that was the case, boycotts would be illegal, business negotiations would be illegal, there would be a whole bunch of things that you wouldn't have the right to do. You has to be tortious interference, meaning wrongful interference. You have to be doing something that is not considered lawful, that is not considered within your rights under the government. So Ron Toye calling up Kamea Khan and telling them, hey, Vic Mignogna, I don't like him. I think he's a harasser. I've spoken to 4 women. I know 4 women who claim that have been abused by him. Him saying that is not tortious interference. It just isn't. Nick should not be surprised by this. And people have pointed this out to him for months and months and months, that tortious interference does not work this way. Nick being surprised by this either shows one of two things. Either his marks are so retarded that they'll believe him even up to this point, or Nick thinks that his marks are that dumb. Or the second thing being, Nick is just that stupid. It might be the second one. It might be that Nick, even after even after Ty Beard gets blown the fuck out of court, that Nick believes his own bullshit still. Like, I don't know how you reach that point. I don't know if Nick Rekieta got his degree from a Cracker Jack box, but he's just dead wrong. And the judge told them they were wrong. I don't think the judge overlooked the affidavits. I just think that the affidavits did not support the things that they claimed that they did. Like, sorry, communicating with a convention that you don't want someone to show up is not a crime. It's not illegal. It's not unlawful. Like, this should have never been an argument, ever. And another problem with this whole thing, is that Kamea Khan didn't even disinvite, like, ultimately, while they did disinvite him at one point, Nick showed up. Sorry, Vic Mignogna showed up at Kamea Khan. They reversed their decision to disinvite him. There was no damages there. They should have went ahead and done the legwork and gone to the other conventions and assessed how much money Vic Mignogna lost by not showing up at those conventions. They didn't do it. They used the Kamea Khan one as their only example. That's just pathetic. Like, there's no excusing this. There's no getting around it about how dumb that is. All right, I've ranted enough about that. Let's continue this interview.
What do you mean, yeah, so? What's actually happening here? So that's a lot. What I want to do is just caution people as this stuff happens. We don't know the full story on the ruling until the judge is finished issuing the order. But
I believe he said that he's going to take like 30 days or so to review the remaining bits of the case, if I'm correct.
He has up to 30 days. He may take that full amount of time. He may not. That's completely up to the judge. What he cannot do is take longer than 30 days. If he takes any longer than 30 days, it defaults and Vic wins. Vic wins on the hearing, but he does fully have up to 30 days to make that decision.
I have two questions for Nick. One of the things that I saw specifically on the Kiwi Farms thread, basically going into this, was that there was a little bit of criticism for Ty for not being able to name a convention that had not. Let me see what he said specifically. Couldn't name a single convention that canceled his client after 7 months of legal filings and consultations. Do you have anything to elaborate on that?
Sure. The hard part of this is working with what you have, and when what you have is an allegation of or a statement from Vic that I had a contract with these people, they announced me to show up, and they were going to pay me something, and the judge saying, "Well, I want the contract. I want specifically the contract." Well, you may not have a written contract, and in Texas, oral contracts are 100%.
I may not have a written contract. It might be oral. Where's this going?
100% enforceable. They're 100% legal, and their burden to sorry, 1 second. The burden to argue the facts about that contract actually comes later. It's not at the TCPA stage. At the TCPA stage, all you have to do is assert that you had a contract, or all you should have to do, I should say, assert the contract. You can talk about the specific conventions, which he did say all of the ones in the pleadings. Those are the contracts that he had. And the judge just said, "Well, which ones?" He says, "Well, all of them, Your Honor." He's like, "Well, where are the contracts?"
Can I ask you a question?
Ty actually said, in 1 second, Ty actually said, "We don't need to produce those at this point, Your Honor." And then because it's prima facie evidence, it's not, we're not being held to argue on the facts about the contracts at this point. But yes, I'm sorry, what was your question?
No, you're fine. I just wanted to, because I was there too. General impressions, to me, it came across like the judge and Ty weren't on the same page. Like they were almost talking past each other. I think Ty didn't always understand what the judge was asking for.
I agree.
Oof. just oof. Like, Ty didn't understand what the judge was asking for. Reminder, this guy was paid over $200,000 to hear this case. Just, how do you do this? Ty, no. Ty, no. Why? Why would you do that?
I agree. And I think almost all of that is going to come from what happened right at the beginning. The judge, if you notice something about this judge, he makes decisions without making decisions, without issuing rulings on matters. And one of the very biggest ones that happened today was the judge decided he wasn't going to consider the second amended petition, but he didn't strike the second amended petition. So there's this weird legal inoperability that's going on, because when you file an amended petition, the original petition or the preceding petition is null. It doesn't exist. It's not in the record anymore. So by not striking the second petition, but deciding that you weren't going to talk about the second petition, you're arguing about a petition that doesn't exist. And
Okay, Nick is just like, I don't know what any of that meant, to be honest. It's like Nick is just going on about some minutia and stuff, but the reality is nothing much was added to the second petition, and nothing that was added to the second petition was all that relevant to begin with. So, and besides that, the judge specifically asked Ty for evidence on things that he couldn't produce or show. Further, that second amendment petition was submitted late, and the judge right from the get-go said, I don't want to hear it. I gave you extra time to submit your response, and you decided to be sneaky about it by including things in the second one. And honestly, there was nothing that would have saved Ty anyway if they considered the second amended petition. And this strategy of, the judge didn't consider all the evidence. No, it's not going to work, because when you weigh all the evidence that was gathered and submitted to the court, it's including the ones that were submitted either with questionable affidavits, because there's been some allegations that Ty fudged signatures, which would be fraud, by the way. Which, if that's true, Ty is going to jail, by the way. Which I'm going to laugh if that happens. There's just no doubt about it that the case still would have died, because they just don't understand the basics of law. And Nick demonstrates that in just a few moments.
And that is so mind-blowingly incorrect that I think Ty was completely caught off guard by how improper that was. And I don't know if I would suggest that maybe he wasn't able to recover from the shock of that.
Guys, the reason that Ty lost was because he just got a sudden case of PTSD. He couldn't withstand the trauma of the judge actually ruling against him. That just blew him away. The fact that Ty was wrong, it crushed his ego so hard. Part of his brain was destroyed in the process. It's not Ty's fault that he messed up. The judge didn't know how the law works. We incompetent lawyers who have no experience in these regards and affairs know more than the judge with years of experience now. These guys are a joke.
So I do think that there were plenty of times where I fully agree, where Ty and Judge Shupp were talking past each other. And I think that's a product of being both flustered and baffled by what happened.
Well, and the judge seemed to be fishing for specific things, and he only wanted to hear that thing.
Okay, so this is where the crust of the issue comes from. And if this isn't proof to people that Nick does not know what he's talking about when it comes to law, I don't know what would.
Yeah, he was like, "Show me this," and Ty is like, "Well, at this point, Your Honor, we have to make a prima facie showing. Here's what we have for that." And he's like, "But show me this specific thing. Show me direct evidence of this thing," and that is very frustrating.
I mean, he prepared his entire case. He prepared his entire case on the basis that he would just have to show prima facie evidence that something may have occurred. And from my understanding, I'm not a legal expert or anything, but it kind of biases towards the plaintiff, because unless they can prove specifically that something the plaintiff states is not true, it's presumed in good faith by the court.
Okay, so that's completely retarded what Gator just said, but he's not a lawyer, right? Gator's just a spurg on the internet. He's a Redditor. Of course he'd say dumb shit like that. Like, that all the plaintiffs have to do is just say, the allegations against the defendants are true, therefore you should just believe me in good faith. Like, that's not what Nick believes, is it?
Yeah, and I mean, it's prima facie showing, just so you know, what a prima facie showing is actually applies in any federal case you file. So any federal case that you file, you have to make a prima facie showing for all of your claims. That's it. That's just your pleading. Now, the TCPA asks for clear and specific evidence, and it allows you to supplement your pleading with affidavits and other direct evidence and circumstantial evidence, but it doesn't actually require you to make some higher standard than just prima facie. But the judge today was not asking for prima facie showings. He wasn't. He didn't want to hear anything about that. He was asking for a preponderance of the evidence. Ty even brought that up in the hearing. You're asking us, Your Honor, for a preponderance of the evidence standard when it's prima facie. I think you're holding us to too high of a standard. And he just waved it away. Because he's a judge, and judges can do whatever they want to do in their courtroom, and appeal me, bro, is the answer. So,
okay, so what you just heard from Nick there. Oh, well, a prima facie show is just the filing. It's just making the claims to the court. No, that's bullshit. That is complete utter bullshit what Nick said there. A prima facie showing is the establishment that a case on the face of it is presumed to be true unless there's evidence to suggest that it's false. You have to establish the claims with evidence. You can't just make the claims as he's saying. And he brings up something like a circuit, oh, well, you can add evidence, but it's not necessary. No, that is complete and utter nonsense. And by Nick's own admission, the TCPA calls for clear and specific evidence for the claims, which Ty Beard was unable to produce, which is why the claims that were dismissed were dismissed. The only reason why the remaining defamation claims and the conspiracy claims were left intact was because there was at least something, a kernel of truth there to go on. There was some sort of basis in reality as to why those claims exist. But Nick's like, oh, well, we don't need evidence. We can just Vic can testify that he doesn't recall incidents and that they didn't happen, and that's enough. That's enough to say that, hey, they have to prove they got to prove their claims now. No, that's not how the law works. And the proof of this is the fact that the judge ruled in this way, as anyone with any kind of legal knowledge said it would. In fact, let me just play that again. Just go back a bit.
Frustrating.
I mean, he prepared his entire case. He prepared his entire case on the basis that he would just have to show prima facie evidence that something may have occurred. And from my understanding, I'm not a legal expert or anything, but it kind of biases towards the plaintiff, because unless they can prove specifically that something the plaintiff states is not true, it's presumed in good faith by the court.
Yeah, and I mean, it's prima facie showing, just so you know, what a prima facie showing is actually applies in any federal case you file. So any federal case that you file, you have to make a prima facie showing for all of your claims. That's it. That's just your plea.
I don't know why Nick is bringing up federal case filings in this. It has no relevance or bearing on the civil matter, and this is a critical error in explaining how the law works, because civil law is very, very different from state civil procedures are very, very different from federal procedures of any kind. You can't just take oh, well, the law works this way here, so it must work this way in all cases everywhere. That's where a lot of people get mistaken about how the law works. So I think that Nick is just desperate in this instance.
Pleading. Now, the TCPA asks for clear and specific evidence, and it allows you to supplement your pleading with affidavits and other direct evidence and circumstantial evidence, but it doesn't actually require you to make some higher standard than just prima facie. But the judge today.
So yeah, you heard him just there. He's saying that the pleadings is evidence in of itself. Like he didn't like he like let's just go back just a little bit here, so it's really emphasized here.
And other direct evidence and circumstantial.
Not true. It's presumed.
Yeah, and I mean it's prima facie showing. Just so you know, what a prima facie showing is actually applies in any federal case you file. So any federal case that you file, you have to make a prima facie showing for all of your claims. That's it. That's just your pleading. Now, the TCPA asks for clear and specific.
That's just your pleading. According to Nick, the prima facie case, prima facie evidence is just the pleadings. No, the law doesn't work that way. And he just goes right on the next sentence to contradict that by specifically citing the TCPA, which specifically says you need clear and specific evidence in order for your case to go get past the motion to dismiss. Like I don't just call Nick a retard or an idiot or just say he's wrong just for the hell of it. I say that because he's getting very basic shit that anyone with a brain can look up. In fact, here's like one from a common legal website, like an educational resource, that actually goes through this. Prima facie, Latin for at first sight. Overview, prima facie may be used as an adjective meaning sufficient to establish a fact or raise a presumption unless disproved or rebutted. An example of this would be to use the term prima facie evidence. It may be used as an adverb meaning on first appearance but subject to further evidence or information. An example of this would be the term prima facie valid. A prima facie case is the establishment of legally required rebuttable presumption. A prima facie case is a cause of action or defense that is sufficiently established as a party's evidence to justify a verdict in his or her favor, provided such evidence is not rebutted by the other party. Again, all things that you have to establish with evidence, not things that you have to go ahead and just presume and state as though that give me one quick second. All right. Okay, where was I? Okay. Sorry about that. Had to get up for a quick second. Yeah, so when it comes to the prima facie evidence and the prima facie standard, it's not, again, I have to emphasize, it's Nick is just retarded. Like there's no other way to explain this. Nick sincerely believes in his heart of hearts that defamation cases work just by going up to the witness stand and just saying that none of these are true. None of what these people are saying is true. That's what he believes. I don't get how someone could believe that. Like that would make defamation cases the easiest cases to win. All you have to do is just deny everything and you win. How anyone could get to that conclusion or reach that point, I have no idea. It's just absurd to me that anyone would actually take this seriously. And this guy is considered just a hot shit when it comes to explaining what the law means. Like, if you're giving Nick Rekieta money, if you're like donating to GoFundMe, just stop. Just stop supporting him. Like, you've been tricked. You should really not keep being tricked. Like, you know better. You're smarter than this. You're smarter than to know that to think that this guy is all he claims to be. In fact, you should be. In fact, more than that, the people who donated money to this should be grilling Nick and Ty nonstop every day, based on how terribly all of this has failed. I'll get into that in a second. I just want to play the rest of this interview at this point.
Specific evidence, and it allows you to supplement your pleading with affidavits and other direct evidence and circumstantial evidence, but it doesn't actually require you to make some higher standard than just prima facie. But the judge today was not asking for prima facie showings. He wasn't. He didn't want to hear anything about that. He was asking for a preponderance of the evidence. Ty even brought that up in the hearing. You're asking us, Your Honor, but let's see. I'm trying to make sure I answered. Did I answer your question, or was there something else you wanted me to?
The other question I had specifically is what is I guess what is the plans going forward? Because I from what I gathered, the only thing that was really fully thrown out was any thing against Marchi, but there's still like things with Toye, Real, and Funimation.
Yes.
Okay.
Marchi's case was entirely thrown out, although that's not necessarily final, because at least the defamation claim against Marchi was improperly dismissed because the judge didn't consider the one tweet that he was just speaking to her counsel about, which was really, really weird. That is weird. He would address the. Excuse me, 1 second. Well, I'll worry about that in a minute. He would address the hair pulling tweet, and then when he asked Tom,
the hair pulling tweet wasn't included in the petition. It's very, very simple. It wasn't included in the petition, and besides that, even if they were able to get to a point where where the hair pulling tweet was considered, Jamie Marchi had a witness to that event. Vic Mignogna admitted to it in his sworn deposition. There's no case for defamation there because it's true. It's something that happened. Like this is so dumb. And Nick wants to say, well, we can appeal it. Well, okay, you can try to appeal pretty much any court ruling, that's true, but you're not going to win. You're not going to win that appeal. Like, you fucked up that badly in the court proceedings, and besides that, the case wouldn't even win if it went to trial. Why is he even the only reason to talk about this, the only reason to make statements like this and to keep this going is to keep the GoFundMe going so Ty Beard can pocket more money. That's what this is all about. So that Nick Rekieta has more loyal psychophants and followers that'll just give him super chat money. Like, that's what this comes down to.
Involves actual situations. He didn't want to address the hair pulling tweets, which is very, very baffling. So that's one of those things that you can ask a judge to reconsider. Because remembering, a judge is also a person who's also trying to hold a bunch of facts in his head, just like the lawyers. And so he's got to try and keep this up. When you make a motion to reconsider, which is a possible next step, you say, Your Honor, we believe that the court didn't properly consider this amount of evidence, which is in the record here, here, and here, and we would respectfully resubmit that to the court for reconsideration. You basically say, look, you made a decision, not saying it's the wrong decision, but we are saying that on the day you made it, maybe the record wasn't clearly articulated. So if we do clearly articulate it, does this meet the legal standard that you need? And the judge can either say yes or no. You're asking the judge to review their own decisions. Now you have to do it very carefully, right? You don't want to come out and be like, "You're wrong, you idiot." I mean, I might want to do that, but
now,
yeah,
what's the appeal process? Like, how does that actually work? Because if the judges say goes and you appeal on him, does he hear the?
All right, I think you get the gist of this interview. there's not really that much more interesting that happens past this point. It's basically this is just Nick desperately trying to mitigate damage in this situation, doing a rather poor job of it. I mean, honestly, Nick's best option is just to make some few snide tweets on Twitter and then just lay low for a while, not say anything. But like that, like as far as him continuing his YouTube career goes, not that I want him to continue it, to be honest. He's just so dumb. He's so stupid. He's either I don't even believe he's stupid. I don't think he's that dumb. I don't think he's as dumb as he makes himself out to be. He knows better. He knows the law better than this. He knows the law better than this, and he just lies to people about it. And he keeps lying to them, telling them that all this stuff, and he hoodwinks everyone. He like tickles everyone's genitals and gets them all on their side. Like, the response to this should be laughter, humiliation, mockery, etc. This is just such a mockable thing. And it's like Nick's like it's terrible. It's absolutely terrible that this keeps on happening, to be honest. Cuz like, you know, while this does deserve to be ridiculed and mocked and stuff like that, what really drives me up a wall about this is how people can just keep on pulling these schemes and cons and stuff like that, and they keep getting away with it. And they keep on getting new audiences. And it happens over and over and over again. And it seems like it's just going to keep on happening. And people are just going to co-sign it. People who would otherwise be against it are just going to be like, oh yeah, that makes sense. He's a lawyer. Or, oh, that makes sense. He does this thing. And just give these people who are out to hustle money, give them a pass. Like, instead of having some simple, hard rules, like don't fund other people's lawsuits, it's a stupid idea. It's dumb. It's not worth your time. Let them handle it themselves. Let them pay out of their own pocket. They just blindly fund them. They just go about this and they go ahead and they say they just it shouldn't be this way. Like Jim had said I wish I had a clip of this, but Jim had said at one point, I think lawsuits are cringy. I think they're laughable. I don't think they're serious. I don't think we should take them seriously at all. Like, Jim has just been, like, pretty much dead quiet about this, even in support of Nick and his coverage of this. It's retarded. It's dumb. This should not be considered a special exception because Nick is such a charismatic guy or whatever. This shouldn't be an exception because, it shouldn't be an exception because it's saving the West or whatever. I mean, like, I don't know. I'm just really frustrated by the whole thing. Like, I really, truly am. All right. And besides that, I don't know. I just don't know. I mean, like it's pretty funny in the moment, like for the next few days or whatever, or for however long that, you know, it lasts. Yeah, the Ty's an incompetent, bubbling moron. But they're still they're still pretty much just gonna get away with it. Vic's gonna end up paying. And the worst part is Vic has been fucked over too. So if you think I'm wrong about Vic Mignogna, if you think Vic Mignogna isn't guilty of any of the things his accusers are allege, or most of them, or whatever the case may be, Vic is going to get slaughtered by having to pay all these sanctions, by having to pay all these fines, because the TCPA requires Vic Mignogna to pay all their legal fees, and on top of that, sanctions. Like, he's going to be super penalized. And it's going to be from his pocket. Or worse, they're just going to say, oh, well, you know what? Even though the GoFundMe was supposed to pay for legal fees and then the rest go to charity, we're just going to use the GoFundMe to pay off Vic's debt. Because he's got to pay Jamie Marchi now. He's not getting out of that. The best he can do is delay it. You know, pay Ty Beard more money to try to get a bond so he doesn't have to pay the bills right away. And then on top of that, and then when that fails, he's going to have to pay her. And then when the other motions get overturned, what other claims get overturned, which they will, he's going to have to pay them. And even if, like, by some miracle, the remaining claims against Funimation, Ron Toye, and Monica Rial go through, Nick's not going to get $5 million. Forget it. He's still got to pay the sanctions on the other claims that failed. So, at best, he's going to break even. And it's going to mean that a lot of people are out of money for no reason. And it's going to mean that Ty Beard gets a lot of cash and Nick Rekieta gets a lot of cash. And neither one of these chuckleheads get any kind of consequences. It's like, at best, they're just going to have, maybe their reputations will no longer be as credible as they once were. But they still got away with it. They still fucked you right in the ass. And they laughed at you. They mocked you for it. And I could, make jokes and chuckle here as much as I want. But you know what? I'm just pissed off. Because it's never going to end. It's never going to end. And people are just going to keep on buying it. And they're going to find some new excuses to buy it. And I don't like this. And what it really comes down to, what do I mean by they? What do I mean by who? There's been this tendency for these people, by these people, I mean people who want to make a buck, people who are commentators, talking heads, people who want to do things online and make money off of it, set up Patreons and Kickstarters and GoFundMes and stuff like that, sell t-shirts and other merchandise. There's this tendency for them to go ahead and cling on to a specific type of personality type that resides in the internet. People who are not very socially aware. People who are basically autistic. They're like young, late teens, early 20s, etc. They're super invested in this hobby or that hobby. Maybe it's just politics in general. They have a certain worldview that's not exactly mainstream. And these people come in, these money hustlers, they come in and the money hustlers need an audience to survive. They need it to make their bread and butter, to pay their bills and like their vodka and their drinks and the hookers and blow and the other degenerate shit and garbage that they're spending it on. And then they need to go ahead and need to tell them all that they're hot shit, they know what they're talking about, and they're always pseudo-intellectuals. All the time, every single one of these motherfuckers are just pseudo-intellectuals who just don't know any better. And they tell you that they're the smartest shit, and they put on a charismatic face, or they put on a British accent, and they act all posh and polished, and then they start with the jokes that they ripped off 4chan, and they go ahead and and then they get a little laugh out of people, and then they fuck them. They fuck them over, and they don't give a shit. All right, I'm just going to end it there, because I don't really have much more to say. This whole fiasco, this whole trial, this whole ordeal over the past 8 months, what is it, 7 months at this point? It's 7 months. It's been a fucking shit show. All the way through. And you know what's best? But there is one part about me that's happy. And I can't even be happy. I can't even be happy to say I told you so. Because at the end of the day, it's just going to happen over again. But maybe some of you will wake up. Maybe some of you will wake up and realize, hey, you know what? Fuck these guys. Maybe that'll inspire some of you somewhere out there that you'll just go, all right, I've had enough of this. It's time to stop letting this shit happen. All right, I might do another stream later today. I don't know. Because there's more stuff to talk about. One of the problems with talking about this case has been that there's no transcript yet. They're just words and anecdotes of other people to go off on. It doesn't seem like anyone's making shit up about it. Maybe they got some stuff wrong, though. Maybe they got things out of order or whatever. I'm particularly interested in how competent the other defendants' cases were, because there's mixed opinions about that. But we'll see. All right. Thank you all who were listening and watching to the stream. I hope you all have a good day. Maybe I'll see you later tonight. Maybe I won't. In the meantime, peace out.